to Boerne, a city that's in Kendall County, just northwest of San Antonio. And it's interesting because this area has pretty much wanted to carve out its own identity. It specifically does not want to be known as Northwest San Antonio. But when you go in, this place is wildly different. It's got a small town feel. Very nice. We heard about people from Boerne back in August, how they rallied together to support their Little League team as they competed in the Little League World Series. They finished fourth, by the way. They did very well. There was a parade for those Little Leaguers when they came back, and that was a really nice show of support from the community. This is a place that has also exploded in population. In 2010, 10,471 people lived in Boerne proper, and as of 2022, according to the Census Bureau, 21,000 people live in Boerne. So it's almost doubled over 10 years. For a lot of people, they do worry about that growth and whether it is sustainable. It's pretty easy to figure out why people want to live here. This place is beautiful. It's super green, and the people are friendly. There are lots of nice little cute shops around town. The question is, what's motivating people here to vote this November? That's what we're going to find out.
It's that small town. It's growing. It is growing. And Boston's a big city. This is becoming, for me, like a Cheers bar. Like, everybody knows your name. You know, you come in, everybody's gathering, and the people want to get to know you. It's not a, hey, we're going to live in this small town. You stay in your house, I'll stay in mine. You're in a community of people that everybody's going to the football games together. Everybody's at the local breweries. Oh, you'll see the same people at different venues when there's music going on, sports venues, you know, whatever it is, they're gathering. And so for me, it's a perfect small town feel, but with the amenities that you can have living close to a big city, right?
Yeah.
So,
but sometimes that closeness can get destroyed when you get close to an election, right?
Yeah.
Just because people start putting signs up and,
Sure.
and things start getting political. Have you noticed any of that here?
no, you know, I think what this town, what Boerne does a good job of is, I feel they do a better job of saying, just because I have an opinion doesn't mean I dislike you because of your opinion. I think they do a good job of that. You're not going to hear a lot of like major political talk here. It's not like at the brewery, we don't do any of it. We don't. It's a community, which means, hey, there's going to be different faiths. There's going to be no faith. There's going to be political views. There's going to be different like levels of income that come in. So there's everybody. It's a community. You're always going to have that, but there is a safe place here where you're just like, hey, we don't need to always talk about that, and we definitely don't need to fight about it. And we're going to go out here and have a good time. And I might have a feeling, or I might lean a certain way, or I might believe a certain way. But I think that in this community, it feels like whatever your scenarios are, we know that nothing's perfect. There's no perfect side. There's no perfect view. There's no perfect human. And we know that. So let's get to be a community, and we'll take on the storm, whatever it is, and see how as a community we can get together and help each other out. But let's focus on helping each other out.
I definitely saw that with the Little League World Series
Yeah.
and how y'all rallied together, and
Yeah.
there was just a lot of that. And then there was like the parade that you guys gave them when
Yep.
they came back, and it's a big deal. These boys worked really hard to get to where they were, and just to have so many people here because we covered all the events before, and a lot of people here were just so proud of them, and that's just so nice to see.
Yeah, I think that's what it showed, and I think one of the things that I was seeing is that's what this town felt, and it needed that refresher and that reminder of a bunch of 12-year-old boys that succeeded for a small town in Texas, went to the national level, yet all of Texas was watching Boerne play and cheering. I was up in, I had spent some time in Lubbock. I was at a golf tournament up there, and everybody that was in this tournament, they came right off the golf course, ran right into the clubhouse with all of us, turned on the Little League World Series, cheering for Boerne from Lubbock. They were loving it because it's a Texas representation, right? And I think what this town was feeling was like the excitement. If you were here, we were packed. But every place that had a TV in this town, that you could go out to and celebrate was full of people celebrating. And what it was 12-year-old boys that brought a community together and said, there is nothing else matters right now than these 12-year-old boys playing America's pastime like they did in the 50s and 60s, where there was some like pride behind these boys getting dirty on a baseball field and celebrating and excited. And the whole town, we're not celebrating a bunch of grown men playing in Major League Baseball. I mean, I was one of those. You know, they weren't celebrating that scenario. They were celebrating 12-year-old boys. Like, to me, that's community, and that's about raising our next generation leaders. And this is what this community does. It pours into our young men and women that are coming up through sport or different areas. We're a very sports-generated town, so we celebrate that, and we believe that they're going to be leaders, you know, hopefully leaders of our country one day, and we want to do our best to celebrate and support them.
When you talk to people here, what are some of the conversations that you hear people talking about here?
Man, I think you're going to think about a lot of that. I think that obviously Boerne is known to be an affluential town, but we have some of our same scenarios in the town, you know, that every town has, and there's going to be normal things like economy, stock market, how is these small businesses going to thrive? Like, are people going to want to go out? Are they going to have inflation? You know, the cost of running a business, but not just the cost of running a business that goes up. When inflation goes up, you got to wonder if people are going to want to be able to, can they even go out because cost of groceries is going up. So what is that going to look like? You know, how are we going to deal with those things where communities can still thrive together? But man, education's huge here. It's an important decision, and how they get educated, the way they get educated, and to me, I mean, the influence right now that our country has on our young people is super important. So for me, it's not about who, it's about what are we telling them? What are we encouraging them to be responsible adults and make good decisions? What does a good decision look like? What are the ramifications of some of these decisions? And so with economy and all this stuff, it's, to me, I think everybody's just looking to see a country that is getting back to these roots of what is it like to raise leaders, what is it like to raise men and women in this country and raise them well, and to be responsible humans when they're adults. I'm never going to not be hopeful, and here's why. Because sometimes I take a big deep breath, and yes, I believe I'm going to vote. And yes, I believe in voting because it's important. But I believe in voting not just for my national leaders. I believe in voting for my local leaders because they're important. And so for me, I look at a small town like this, and sometimes we got to take a big step back and say, okay, some of this stuff's out of our control. If we're seeing anything right now, no matter what you believe, some of that stuff over in D.C. is really out of our control. Right? We don't even know half the stuff that's going on or why they're arguing about stuff. But I can tell you this, everybody in this community knows what's going on here. And we can all talk about it here. So at some point in time, I'm hopeful because I believe in small town America. And I believe that communities like this, that can come into places like this and talk about life and deal with issues, can help each other out. So regardless of what's going on in D.C., we have to figure out how we can help each other charge these storms in our town here.
I think we have to work as a community to make things work, right? It's not about one person's view, it's about everyone's view in making it work. And accountability that everyone wants, a safe environment, an economy that booms and survives. And as long as we're working together, that's really, you know, as far as small as Boerne is, there's people that move from San Antonio as far as California, Colorado, but they move here because they feel like they can be included. And I feel like that's how we're growing.
When you think about the issues that are pushing you in that ballot box, what are the issues that you're thinking about?
You know, I think less about myself. I think more about the future for my kids and what it looks like. And, you know, we talked a little bit earlier, I'm an Ohio native, so I haven't lived in Texas forever. So in my personal opinion, I feel like when you look at the issues, it's about sustainability, what's best for your community. 100%, like local community, and then you kind of build out.
And what is best for your community?
I think it's about, you know, making sure that we're safe, the values, the communities there, just the overall feeling, sense that no division, just we're all on the same page and making sure that everyone's taken care of. I tune out a lot of the social media. I'm a very social, outgoing person, and you're never gonna 100% meet in the middle of the road with someone. It doesn't even matter if you're Democrat, Republican, whatever. It's about getting to know someone, and I think people just need to take a better initiative to get to know people and find a common ground. Well, at the end of the day, even in politics, like, both sides have to work together. Even when one side wins, you still have to work together, right? So it's really about just coming together and finding a middle ground and making it work for families that work hard, right? And so, like, it's really important that everyone vote and everyone gets together and tries to elect the best person that's going to hear both sides and find a middle ground to make it work.
I don't like the direction the country's going, so the economy's a big thing. Of course, oil and gas, the energy's a big thing. Not against grain necessarily, it's just we're going about it wrong. So for my grandkids, I want to see a good, strong, basic economy.
What does that mean?
A strong economy. That there's jobs available, inflation's kept in check. They still have plenty of choices on what they can do. Get a grip on the universities. I have a problem with the universities. I think they've gotten out of hand. The government backs them on their loans, so they've gone crazy and raised tuition about 1,000%.
Unaffordable. It's
So
not
it
affordable.
wasn't like when I went, and I feel for them now, having to pay for the tuition that is there. Plus, hopefully they choose the right profession to go into. So the economy is a big deal. I'm very strong toward the country as it should be, in my opinion. I'm rather patriotic. I like the old U.S. that I grew up with, the morals, the ethics. I understand a lot of the progressive side. I'm not against liberals, I am a conservative. I'm not against liberals. You need liberal, just like you need conservative. I am against the far left, as I am the far right. So I just think it's gotten out of hand. The foreign policy side, I think we're just so weak right now. That worries me. I don't want to see my grandkids going to war. I think we're weak there. We're not taking the right path there. You got to be careful there because you can be too far right and boisterous, or you can be too far left and appear weak, and we can't afford, in my opinion, to appear weak to the country, to the rest of the world. So that's a biggie for me.
The election's November 5th, November 6th. What would you want the outcome to be? You wake up, what would make you feel good? What would you want to see?
I would like to see, I have to explain this because of the choices we have. I'm not a rah-rah Trumpster, but I'd rather wake up and see that Donald Trump wins just from his policies that I see. And I think it's time that I see the Republicans, even though they seem to be split, of taking the Congress back, the House and Senate. Even though usually when you have one party taking all three, it's not a good thing. I think it's going to be needed this time just to try to swing back and remedy some of the stuff that I think's gone on that's been the wrong direction. 4 years, you think you can't do much in 4 years. I've seen Congresses that don't do anything in 4 years. I've seen some that screw it up in 4 years. So yeah, I'd like to wake up and see that Trump has won. At least his policies, if he will implement those, like he did last time. There was a lot that I liked last time. Some things, social media just kills him. He can't keep his mouth shut. But that's part of it, I guess. That's what I like to see. I think we need some healing on that side. But we have to be very careful we don't go too far with that. You still have to understand that with the new generation where it's coming up that there has to be some progressive ideas in that.
Obviously, education's a big deal. And the reason why I say education's a big deal is because I see a big shift within the generation that's coming up on work ethic. And so I'll just give you an example. The kids that work for me don't know how to count change. So it's just the simple things that are no longer being taught because they're able to use their calculators. And we literally had to label that a quarter is 25 cents and that dimes are 10 cents. And they say that they're not taught that in school anymore. And when I tell people that, they're flabbergasted because it's like something so small, but it's something so small that's being overlooked. Everybody wants to own their own business. If you talk to I will bet you, if you talk to 90% of students now, they're gonna say, I'm gonna own my own business. Because they think it's easy, and they think it's fun, and they think they're gonna get really rich. What they don't know is all the hard work that goes into it, and all the countless hours, and getting up early, and not knowing if you're gonna make it or not make it. So they don't have that, I don't know, that sense of, not fear, but kind of, and so, but our son is one of them. He wants to be a business owner. We're like, okay, it's not easy. We work a lot. And we have a lot of fun too, but we work a lot. You have to work a lot in the very beginning to get there. So I would think just that drive that people have again, and also getting back into manual labor. It's not just, I want to be a business owner and start my own business and become a millionaire type thing. It's like, no, I want to work my way through the chain to get to the top of the corporate ladder, but you have to work there. You can't just start at the top. But also manual labor, we're so short on any of our blue collar
plumbing,
everything,
plumbers, electricians,
yes,
mechanics.
If you talk to anybody that's trying to build anything, it's near impossible to get. They get the contract signed, money goes out, but it's not getting finished. And so that's the problem because, again, it's hard to keep employees. So it's not that the business owner has bad intentions. I think that because employees want to just quit and move on to something else.
The election is going to be November 5th. Mm-hmm. Let's pretend that it's November 6th.
Okay.
What would you want to see? What's a good outcome?
Without saying my political view.
Yeah.
I think the outcome is, I'm an optimist, is happy, and I think that we'll get our economy back to where it needs to be, and I think that we'll get our unemployment back down, and I think that we'll be thriving as Americans again.
The word community kept coming up during our conversations. The people here are just as concerned with local races as they are the national ones, but they did say that regardless of what the outcome is this November, they hope that people will continue to work together. For Your Voice South Texas, I'm Stefania Jimenez.